They tell you that powerful people don't grant interviews to journalists who want to destroy them. They're wrong. I'm standing outside Marcus Reynold's townhouse on Beacon Hill, and my hands are shaking, not from a cold, though it's 9 degrees, and the wind off Boston Common feels like it's cutting through my coat. I'm shaking because I've spent 18 months building a case against this man, and he invited me here. Personally. No publicist. No lawyer. Just a handwritten note on cream cardstock that arrived at my desk 3 days ago. Asterisk, Ms. Kovač, I believe we have things to discuss. Thursday, 9 a.m. Come alone, asterisk. The door opens before I knock. He's standing there in a charcoal suit, no tie, silver hair perfect. He's shorter than I expected. Older. He looks like someone's grandfather. If your grandfather ran a pharmaceutical empire and $19 billion couldn't buy him a decent night's sleep. You're early, he says. I'm on time. Then I'm late. He steps aside. T. The townhouse is exactly what you'd expect. Art that costs more than my apartment. Furniture that whispers old money. Windows that frame the city like it belongs to him. It smells like expensive coffee and something else. Something chemical I can't place. We sit in a room with a fireplace that's lit but gives off no warmth. He pours tea from a silver pot. His hands don't shake. Mine do. I pull out my recorder. Click it on. The sound fills the silence. You know why I'm here, I say. The Helix trial. The deaths. The cover-up. His voice is even. Clinical. You've been writing about it for over a year. You think I'm a murderer who buried evidence to protect my stock price. Are you? He sips his tea. That's not the right question. I place a photograph on the table between us. Melissa Browning, 34, mother of 2. Enrolled in the trial for early-onset Alzheimer's. Dead 6 weeks later from a brain hemorrhage, the autopsy called catastrophic and unexplained. Marcus doesn't look at it. 11 people, I say. 11 patients who trusted you. Trusted Helix, he corrects. I was removed from the company 16 months before you started writing your articles. I have no legal obligation. I'm not interested in legal obligations. Then what are you interested in, Ms. Kovač? The truth. That's what I should say. But sitting across from him, watching the way he holds his teacup like it's a prop in a play he's performed 1,000 times, I realize something else. He's performing for me. If you're hearing this right now, help me prove something wrong. My mom thinks I'm wasting my time doing this, but if you subscribe, it reminds me that I'm not. The front door opens. Footsteps in the hall. A man enters, tall, bald, gold-rimmed glasses, expensive camel coat dusted with snow. He stops when he sees me. Owen, Marcus says without turning. You're early. You said 9:30. I said 10. The man, Owen Delacroix, I recognize him from my research, Marcus's former legal counsel, looks at me, then at Marcus, then at the photograph on the table. You're the journalist, Owen says. I am. Then you should leave. She's staying, Marcus says. There's a pause. Something unspoken passes between them. Owen's jaw tightens. Marcus sets down his teacup. When he looks at me, I see something I didn't expect. Relief. I didn't invite you here to deny anything, he says quietly. I invited you here because I'm going to tell you what actually happened. But you need to understand something first. He finally looks at the photograph. The truth is worse than what you think. Owen Delacroix doesn't sit down. He stands near the fireplace like a lawyer who's walked into a courtroom where the verdict's already been decided, and he's just there to watch the sentencing. Marcus, he says carefully. We've discussed this. You've discussed it, Marcus replies. I've listened. If you make statements on record, then they'll be on record. Marcus gestures to the chair beside him. Sit down, Owen. Or leave. But don't stand there pretending you have authority you relinquished when you stopped cashing Helix's checks. Owen sits. Slowly. He won't look at me. Marcus turns back, and when he speaks, his voice has the tone of a man who's rehearsed this. Not recently. For months. Maybe longer. The drug was called Neuraxil 7, he begins. 7 iterations before we found a compound that showed promise. It was designed to do something we'd never successfully done before. reverse myelin degradation in the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. In simpler terms, we were trying to stop Alzheimer's from erasing people. I know this already. It's in the public trial documentation. The early results were extraordinary, he continues. Patients in stage 2 cognitive decline showed measurable improvement within weeks. Memory, recall increased. Cognitive function stabilized. We thought, he stops. Corrects himself. I thought we'd done it. And then Melissa Browning died, I say. He nods once. Brain hemorrhage. Massive. The autopsy showed vascular rupture inconsistent with her medical history. No aneurysm. No prior indication. The pathologist called it a statistical anomaly. Anomalies don't kill 11 people. No, Marcus agrees. They don't. Owen shifts in his chair. I catch him looking at the photograph still sitting on the table between us. I reach into my bag and pull out a second photograph. I place it beside Melissa's. Ethan Kovač, I say. 23 years old. Enrolled in the trial after a car accident left him with traumatic brain injury. He was getting better, remembering things, laughing again. Marcus looks at the photo, then at me. Your brother. My brother. The room goes silent except for the fire. Owen closes his eyes. I'm sorry, Marcus says, and I hate that he sounds like he means it. Sorry isn't what I came for. I know. He stands, walks to a mahogany cabinet near the window, unlocks it with a small key from his pocket. He removes a folder, thick, aged, the edges worn like it's been handled repeatedly. He brings it back and sets it in front of me. After the third death, we initiated an internal review, he says. By the 7th, we'd identified a pattern, a genetic marker, a specific polymorphism in the APO gene cluster. Everyone who died had it. Everyone who survived didn't. I open the folder. Internal memos. Lab reports. Communications between Marcus and the research team. Dates that prove they knew. The drug worked, Marcus says quietly. It reversed neurological damage. But in patients with this specific genetic variance, it triggered a cascade effect. Hypervascularization. The brain essentially tried to rebuild itself too fast. The blood vessels couldn't handle the pressure. You knew this before the trial ended. We knew after 7 people were dead. We stopped enrollment immediately. Recalled the remaining patients. Shut down the trial. But you didn't publish the findings. No. You didn't warn other researchers. Other companies working on similar compounds. No. Owen finally speaks. Marcus was removed from the company 3 weeks after the shutdown. The board cited leadership concerns. They buried the data to avoid liability. And you let them, I say to Marcus. He doesn't deny it. He looks at me with those tired pale eyes and says something I'm not prepared for. I let them because publishing would have destroyed any chance of fixing it. The drug worked, Ms. Kovač. It saved lives. Still could. But only if we understood why it killed. I stare at him. You're saying you hid evidence of 11 deaths to protect the drug? I hid evidence to protect the cure. Owen stands abruptly. That's enough. But Marcus isn't finished. The genetic marker, he says. It's rare. 0.03% of the population. We could screen for it. Exclude those patients. Save millions of others. I look down at the documents. At my brother's photo. Ethan had the marker. I say. Marcus nods. So did all of them. He slides one more page across the table. A genetic panel. Names highlighted. And at the bottom, handwritten in margins. Asterisk screening protocol, rejected by board. Liability concerns outweigh potential benefit. Recommend permanent closure, asterisk. The note is dated 4 days before Marcus was fired. He didn't bury the data to protect profits. He buried it because the board chose money over medicine. And he couldn't stop them. I should feel something. Vindication, maybe. Or rage. But sitting in Marcus Reynold's pristine sitting room, holding documents that prove a pharmaceutical company chose profit over human life, all I feel is cold. Why didn't you go public? I ask. If the board silenced you, if they buried the findings, why didn't you leak this yourself? Marcus returns to his chair. He looks older than he did 20 minutes ago. I did, he says. I contacted the FDA, the press. I sent anonymized data to 3 separate regulatory bodies. And nothing. A fired executive with a grudge isn't a credible source, especially when the company in question has legal teams that specialize in making problems disappear. He pauses. I had no proof they'd actively suppressed the research, just internal memos that could be explained as standard risk assessment. Corporate due diligence. These memos aren't due diligence, I say, holding up a page. They're murder. In moral terms, yes. In legal terms. He shakes his head. No prosecutor would touch it. Owen leans forward. Marcus became radioactive the moment he was removed. Anything he said was dismissed as retaliation. The board made sure of that. So you just gave up? I didn't give up. Marcus's voice hardens. I waited for someone who could tell the story without being destroyed by it. Someone with credibility, distance, motivation. He looks at me. Someone like you. I feel the weight of what he's saying. He didn't invite me here to confess. He invited me here to weaponize me. There's something you're not telling me, I say. Owen and Marcus exchange a look. The kind of look that carries years of conversations I'm not privy to. There was someone else who knew, Owen says finally. The lead researcher on the trial, Dr. Amara Osei. She ran the clinical data analysis. She's the one who identified the genetic marker. Where is she now? We don't know, Marcus says. You don't know, or you won't tell me? We don't know, Owen repeats. After the trial shut down, Amara testified in a closed-door board meeting. She presented the genetic findings, recommended immediate publication, and a global alert to other researchers working on similar compounds. The board rejected it, threatened her with breach of NDA if she went public. And she agreed? She resigned, Marcus says, walked out of Helix, and disappeared. No forwarding address. No new employment records. She went completely dark. I write this down. My hand is shaking again. If she identified the pattern, if she has the data. She's the only witness who can corroborate everything, Owen finishes. And she's been silent for 18 months. Why? Because testifying would destroy her, Marcus says quietly. Helix's NDA is ironclad. If she speaks, they'll sue her into oblivion. They'll make sure she never works in research again. And, unlike me, she doesn't have the money to fight them. So she's hiding. She's surviving. I close the folder. Stand. I need to find her. Ms. Kovač, Owen rises. If you contact Dr. Osei, you're putting her at risk. Helix has legal surveillance on anyone connected to the trial. If they find out she's talking, then they'll know someone's still investigating. I finish. Good. Let them know. Marcus watches me. He's not trying to stop me. He's measuring something. Owen, he says without breaking eye contact with me. Give her the address. Marcus. Give it to her. Owen reaches into his briefcase, pulls out a small card with an address written in precise handwriting. Somerville. No name. Just a street and apartment number. I take it. As I reach the door, Marcus calls out. Ms. Kovač. I turn. When you find her, he says, ask her about patient 0. Who's patient 0? His face is unreadable. She'll know what I mean. Somerville in January feels like the edge of the world. The address Owen gave me leads to a 3-story walk-up on a street where snow hasn't been cleared in weeks. The kind of neighborhood where people work 2 jobs and don't ask questions. Amara Osei chose to disappear here, and standing outside her building, I understand why. No one looks for brilliant scientists in places like this. I climb the stairs to the 3rd floor. Apartment 3C. The door is painted green, chipped at the corners. There's a small package leaning against it, Amazon, delivered 3 days ago. Untouched. I knock. Wait. Knock again. Nothing. I press my ear to the door. Silence. No television. No movement. But there's something else, a smell. Faint. Chemical. The same smell I couldn't place in Marcus's townhouse. She's not there. I turn. An elderly woman stands in the doorway across the hall, holding a small white dog. I'm looking for Dr. Osei, I say. So is everyone. The woman adjusts her glasses. You a bill collector? A journalist? Worse. But she doesn't close the door. She keeps strange hours. Sometimes I don't see her for days. Then she's up all night. I hear her pacing, talking to herself. When did you last see her? The woman thinks. 4 days. Maybe 5. Came home late. Looked like she'd been crying. I glance at the package. 5 days of mail visible through the gap under the door. Do you have a key? Why would I have a key? I pull out my wallet. Slide 2 20s across the gap. You seem like someone who might have a key. The woman looks at the money. Then at me. I water her plants when she travels. She disappears into her apartment. Returns with a brass key. You didn't get this from me. The apartment is smaller than I expected. 1 bedroom. Kitchenette. A bathroom with a shower curtain permanently drawn. But it's the walls that stop me cold. Every surface is covered. Research charts. Genetic sequencing diagrams. Printouts of brain scans. Photographs of patients, all 11 of them, pinned in a grid with red string connecting them like a conspiracy board. And in the center, one name circled over and over in black marker. Thomas Calloway. I don't recognize it. The apartment smells like the same chemical scent from Marcus's house. I trace it to the kitchenette. A coffee mug sits in the sink, half full, a thin film on the surface. Beside it, a prescription bottle. Modafinil. For narcolepsy. The label is dated 6 weeks ago. Amara hasn't been sleeping. I move to the desk. It's obsessively organized, notebooks stacked by date, pens lined up parallel to the edge. Everything labeled. Everything controlled. Except for one drawer. It has a combination lock. The kind you'd use for a gym locker. I try common combinations. Birth dates I've researched. Trial dates. Nothing works. Then I see it, a sticky note on the underside of the desk lamp. 4 numbers in her handwriting. 1-1-0-7. The lock clicks open. Inside, a flash drive. Patient files printed on helix letterhead. And a handwritten note on torn notebook paper. Asterisk, if you're reading this, I'm either dead or I've finally done what I should have done 18 months ago. The trial didn't fail because of bad science. It failed because we tested on the wrong patient first. Thomas Calloway wasn't random. He was selected. And when he survived, everything that followed was a cover-up for something worse than negligence. Patient 0 knew what would happen. He volunteered anyway. Ask Marcus why. Asterisk. My hands are shaking. I pocket the flash drive. Photograph the note. Start photographing the walls. That's when I hear it. A key sliding into the lock. The door opens. Dr. Amara Osei stands in the doorway, grocery bag in one hand, keys in the other. She's younger than her photos, late 30s, braids pulled into a high ponytail, wearing an oversized gray cardigan over a simple dress. She still wears her Helix ID badge on a lanyard around her neck. She looks at me, at the open drawer, at the flash drive in my hand, and very quietly, she says, "You shouldn't have come here." For a long moment, neither of us moves. Amara Osei stands in her doorway, grocery bag still in hand, eyes locked on the flash drive I'm holding. She's smaller than I imagined, quieter, but there's something in her posture, rigid, controlled, that reminds me of a surgical instrument. Precise. Dangerous if mishandled. I can explain, I start. You broke into my apartment. Your neighbor gave me a key. Mrs. Chen doesn't have a key. I don't respond. We both know what that means. Amara closes the door behind her, sets the groceries on the counter, removes her coat with methodical care. She's buying time, thinking. When she finally speaks, her voice is scientist calm. What did Marcus tell you? Enough to find you. That's not an answer. He told me about the trial, the genetic marker, the 11 deaths. I hold up the flash drive. He told me to ask you about patient 0. Something crosses her face. Not surprise. Recognition. She walks to the wall of research, runs her finger along one of the red strings connecting photographs. It ends at a blank space, a rectangle of wall lighter than the rest, like something was removed. Thomas Calloway, she says. 41 years old. Diagnosed with early-stage frontotemporal dementia. Enrolled in the Neuraxil 7 trial as patient 0. First to receive the full dosage protocol. And he survived. He did more than survive. Amara pulls a notebook from the shelf, flips to a page covered in brain scan printouts. Calloway had the APO genetic marker, the same polymorphism that killed the others. His scans showed the same hypervascularization, accelerated neural growth, blood vessel stress that should have caused catastrophic hemorrhage within weeks. But it didn't. No, his body adapted. She points to a series of scans dated over 3 months. Look at the progression. Week 2, dangerous vascular pressure. Week 4, early signs of adaptive response. Week 8, complete vascular restructuring. His brain essentially rewrote its own circulatory system. I stare at the scans. That's impossible. Statistically, yes. 1 in 7 million chance. But it happened. Amara's voice drops. Thomas Calloway became proof that the drug could work. That the genetic marker wasn't a death sentence. It was a variable we didn't understand yet. So why didn't Marcus publish this? This is what he claimed he wanted, proof the drug could be saved. Amara sits on the edge of her desk. For the first time, she looks tired. Because the board didn't want a miracle. They wanted the problem to disappear. Calloway was a liability. If his case went public, it would raise questions about why we didn't study him further. Why we shut down the trial instead of isolating what made him different. What did they do? She's quiet for a long time. Marcus fought to keep Calloway in observation. Wanted to run extended genetic analysis. Understand the adaptation mechanism. The board overruled him. 3 weeks after the trial ended, Calloway was paid a settlement, substantial, with an NDA attached. He disappeared. And his medical records? Amara looks at the floor. I falsified his final report. Listed cause of exit as deceased, trial-related complications. I thought I was protecting him. I thought if the board believed he was dead, they'd leave him alone. You lied. I committed fraud. Her voice is clinical, detached, and I've carried it every day since. I pull out my phone. Search, Thomas Calloway, Boston. The results load. A news article from 2 weeks ago. Photograph of a man in his 40s, handsome, graying at the temples, sharp suit, cutting a ribbon at a research facility. The headline asterisk philanthropist Thomas Calloway announces $200 million neurological research fund. Asterisk. I turn the phone toward Amara. He's alive. He's funding research into the exact condition that should have killed him. Amara stares at the photo. Her hands start to shake. And he's been silent for 18 months, she whispers. Just like me. I scroll down. The article mentions Calloway's foundation focuses on genetic markers in neurological treatment. Lists partner institutions. Research grants. And at the bottom, buried in the acknowledgments, asterisk, special thanks to Helix Pharmaceuticals for their continued partnership in advancing treatment protocols. Asterisk. Amara and I look at each other. He's working with them, I say. Or they're working with him. The question neither of us asks hangs in the air. If Thomas Calloway survived, if he's proof the drug works, why did 11 people have to die? Amara makes coffee neither of us drinks. We sit in her small apartment surrounded by 18 months of silence, and I watch her hands shake as she holds a mug. She's been carrying this alone. The weight of 11 deaths and 1 impossible survivor. The guilt of a lie she told to protect a man who didn't need protecting. We have to talk to him. I say. Calloway won't talk. Not on record. Then off record. Deep background. I don't care. If he's alive, if he's working with Helix. He won't admit complicity. Amara sets down the coffee. Men like Thomas Calloway don't survive by being careless. Then why is he funding research into the exact genetic marker that should have killed him? Why partner with a company that paid him to disappear? She doesn't have an answer. I pull out my phone. Find the contact page for Callaway's foundation. Before I can talk myself out of it, I dial. The receptionist is polite, professional. I give my name, say I'm a journalist writing about neurological research philanthropy. I expect deflection, a request to email a media inquiry. Instead, Mr. Callaway can meet with you tonight, 7 p.m., his office in the financial district. Will you be coming alone? The question catches me off guard. No, I say, looking at Amara. I'll have a colleague. Excellent. He's looking forward to it. The line goes dead. Amara stares at me. He knew you'd call. Or he's been waiting for someone to. Thomas Callaway's office occupies the top floor of a glass tower overlooking Boston Harbor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Minimalist furniture. The kind of wealth that doesn't need to announce itself. He's standing by the window when we arrive. Tall, graying, tailored suit that probably cost more than my car. He turns, and his smile is warm. Practiced. Ms. Kovač. Dr. Osei. He extends a hand. Thank you for coming. Amara doesn't take it. You know who we are, I say. Of course. I've followed your work, Ms. Kovač. 18 months of articles about Helix. Very thorough. He gestures to chairs. Please. Sit. We don't. You survived the trial, I say. You had the genetic marker. You should be dead. Yes. And you took a settlement from Helix to stay silent. I took compensation for participating in a trial that saved my life. The NDA was standard. 11 people died. His expression doesn't change. I'm aware. Amara steps forward. You had the same polymorphism, the same vascular response. You should have hemorrhaged within weeks. But I didn't. Callaway moves to his desk, pulls out a folder. Medical records. His own. My body adapted. Genetic lottery. 1 in 7 million. Dr. Osei, you documented it yourself. I documented it, and then I lied about your death to protect you. I never asked you to do that. The words land like a slap. After the trial ended, Callaway continues. Helix offered me a choice. Disappear with compensation, or go public and spend years in litigation while they discredited everything. I chose survival, just like you did, Doctor. Amara's jaw tightens. I pull out my recorder. Click it on. You're funding research into the same genetic marker. Partnering with Helix. Why? Callaway looks at the recorder. Doesn't object. Because the drug works, Ms. Kovač. Neuraxil. 7 reversed my cognitive decline. Gave me my life back. Yes, it killed 11 people. That's tragic. But their deaths provided data we couldn't have obtained any other way. We now know which genetic subgroup to exclude. We know how to screen for it. We can save millions. You're saying their deaths were necessary. I'm saying their deaths weren't meaningless. The room goes silent. The trial wasn't a failure, he says quietly. It was a very expensive success. 11 data points that taught us how to save everyone else. My stomach turns. You're not sorry they died. I'm grateful we learned why. Amara makes a sound, half sob, half laugh. You're a monster. I'm a realist. Callaway closes the folder. Your brother, Ms. Kovač. Ethan. He volunteered for the accelerated protocol. Double dosage, compressed timeline. Higher risk, faster results. He signed a waiver acknowledging the experimental nature. Did Marcus tell you that? The floor drops out from under me. You're lying. Callaway slides a document across the desk. A consent form. Ethan's signature at the bottom. Date, 6 weeks before he died. He knew, Callaway says. And he chose to help. I can't breathe. Amara takes my arm. We leave. Behind us, Callaway calls out. When you write your article, Ms. Kovač, ask yourself, would your brother want his death to mean nothing? Or would he want it to save lives? The elevator doors close. And I realize I don't know the answer. The line between breakthrough and tragedy is thinner than we want to believe. If this story made you question what you'd sacrifice for a cure, hit subscribe. There are more stories like this that need to be told. What would you have done in Sienna's position? Let me know in the comments below.